I think that's really, there's some key things that you spilled the tea on, as we like to say on the show there, because it's hard for production, yeah, sometimes to understand always the environment too, in which you have to juggle like justifying a shot or the light. And that's why, again, I think it's great to be educated as much as you can. And thank you guys for tuning in as you do. We're hoping we can give you some inside scoop to the other fields, because even if you aren't interested in being a DP, a lighting tech specialist, etc., it's, again, important to understand that role, because then you can communicate better and be like, okay, I understand you, dude. Like, let's try and make it, let's meet halfway, or whatever we can do, right?
That is so important in my opinion, because the crew's never really going to understand the brick wall that money really is, right? Because they're busy carrying stuff around, and if they don't have good craft service and they're not getting paid enough and there's not enough guys to lift the equipment, it doesn't matter what your budget constraints are, they're going to be resentful of that. But at the same time, the crew not only has to understand that that the budget is literally a brick wall, that if you pass it, like hot costs one day, suddenly they hired 10 guys that you didn't plan on in your budget, you might be done. Like that, you might have
Yeah.
blown the budget on that, because you have to pay those people if it's
Right.
on a union job that they showed up. So I think that the
Mm.
communication between, if a producer understands the process that it takes to do the job for the crew, then it's not adversarial. You can go to them and
Yeah.
say, hey, I totally understand why you need to do that, but hey, can we figure out a way not to, because we don't really have the money. You have to, it's not about negotiating. You're the boss. If you're the producer, you can get what you want, but you have to
Absolutely.
understand, like, they're only trying to achieve this kind of ethereal, vague thing that is in the vision of the director and the DP, that
Yeah.
if the, and so you head down that road of trying to fill that vision. So I think absolutely it's great when producers have a kind of a better notion about what's involved in it. You should know when the rigging gaffer needs 10 guys, it's not about that he's just trying to have too much labor, at least not most of the time. It's because he's been asked to do something that is quite challenging.
One person or two-person shot. What is the like three key things we can keep in mind to achieving a great, like, clear, effective, well-balanced look?
I think that first thing to always learn about lighting is you don't need lights. It's about the environment. If it's dark, then you need lights. But you always try to figure out a way to use the natural environment and what it has going. Think about your backgrounds. Think about what separates your actors from your backgrounds. Think about, you're looking at a two-dimensional thing, trying to make it seem like it has depth. So when you're thinking about lighting, it's a lot about the environment itself first and foremost. And of course, not needing any lights. I mean, sure, if you're specifically trying to be a lighting technician, maybe that doesn't sound so good. But if you're trying to do things on a budget, get in and out and like get it nice shot and have it be natural and beautiful. If you can afford to write it for day in the beautiful sunny field, do that. Don't write it for night in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
You're
Right.
gonna have to spend, I mean, these are logical, obviously, things, but then when you get to the next phase, it's really, I mean, classically, I guess you would say 3-point lighting is the important thing that everybody should know, which is a key, a fill, and a backlight, basically, or edge of some kind. Well, the edge might not be needed if your background is doing that separation for you. So you might not need to rig that light,
Okay.
up there, because that's the hardest light to rig because the camera's pointed that way.
Mm-hmm.
So then you get your fill, which kind of adjusts the contrast. So in Quasar, we kind of came up with this thing called the 4 Cs. Our brilliant color scientist at Quasar, and he's also our cinematographer on all of our like video, our shoots and stuff. Tim Kang, he came up with this thing called the 4 Cs, which is, and I'm going to butcher it, Tim, I'm sorry. It's it's contour, contrast, clarity, and color. So your your contour is about where your key is around
Mhm.
this side here. I know that your listeners can't see, so it's the strong light that really creates like the effect of lighting on you.
Okay.
And then the fill comes from the other side of the face to just adjust the contrast. So, if you want it to look moody, you don't have any fill. If you want it to
Mhm.
look more soft and enjoyable, if it's beauty lighting, for instance, you have that fill come in and it takes away a lot of the shadow, so forth and so on. What we call clarity would be the backlight because it makes the separation of the subject, and it can like give some nice kicks on the shoulders, the hair, it's hair light as we all know about. So
Yeah.
that's it. And then color, well, you, especially nowadays with cameras having a lot more latitude and the different things, you can really apply various colors to all of those different lights, and start to create a whole nother dimension of feeling and stuff like that.